The grand hall of the Galactic Council shimmered with golden light, carved from crystal and metal unknown to Earth. It was a place older than most civilizations, where decisions had shaped entire star systems. On this historic day, the hall was filled with curious murmurs and sharp gazes, all directed at the newcomers. Humanity had arrived. Dressed in dark blue formal suits with silver trims, Earth's delegation walked with quiet confidence, led by Ambassador Alara Voss. She was calm, her face composed, though her eyes held a storm behind their gray surface. This was Earth's first appearance before the Galactic Council, a moment that had taken decades to prepare. The Council was made up of long-established species, some ancient and wise, others proud and territorial. All had one thing in common. They had ruled the stars long before Earth launched its first satellite. Alara stepped forward and took her place at the central podium. Her voice echoed gently across the chamber as she spoke, not with arrogance but with a firm clarity. "Humanity comes not to conquer, but to contribute," she began. "We have grown through trial, risen through struggle, and now seek unity among the stars." Her speech touched on Earth's advancements in medicine, energy, diplomacy, and the value of cooperation. She spoke of shared futures and the power of diversity. The hall remained quiet, not with awe, but with cold calculation. Then, from a raised platform, the Threxan Chancellor rose. He was tall and thin, his blue scales shimmering like ice under a burning sun. His 4 eyes blinked slowly as he stepped forward, and his voice cut through the air like a blade. "You speak of unity, but you come from a world soaked in its own chaos. You are violent, short-lived, and emotionally unstable," he said, turning to address the Council rather than Alara directly. "These mammals are barely above animals. Let us not pretend they belong among us." A ripple of laughter followed, though not from all corners. Some delegates remained silent. Others looked at Alara with unreadable expressions. The insult was public, sharp, and designed to humiliate. For a moment, the hall was still. Alara didn't respond with anger. She didn't raise her voice or defend Earth with threats. Instead, she calmly reached into her pocket and pressed a small silver disc. The entire session, including the insult, had been recorded. Without a word, she placed the disc on the podium and nodded to her team. The delegation rose together and left the chamber in silence. But it was not the silence of shame, it was the silence of a storm building in the distance. Back on Earth, the video spread like wildfire. Billions watched as the Threxan Chancellor mocked their species, but they also saw Alara's calm strength and the quiet dignity of the team behind her. Across the galaxy, the footage was shared, debated, and dissected. On some worlds, people laughed and agreed with the Council's dismissal. On others, especially young colonies and less powerful races, Alara's words sparked something new. Hope. Humanity had not begged for approval. They had come prepared to offer peace and progress, and when met with scorn, they left without stooping to pettiness. In hidden corners of the galaxy, leaders began to question the Council's arrogance. A few whispered, "If humanity rises despite this, what else are they capable of?" Others feared what Earth's response might be. Earth had made no threats, but everyone knew that no species climbed to the stars without fire in its heart. Back in her private quarters aboard the Earth diplomatic vessel Resolute, Alara stood by the observation window watching stars drift by. She held the same silver disc in her hand. Her aide approached quietly. "They've mocked us in front of the galaxy," he said. "What happens next?" Alara didn't turn. Her voice was calm, but her words held weight. "Now," she said, "we show them who we are." And thus, the insult that was meant to shatter Earth's pride had done something far more dangerous. It had united a divided planet and lit a fire in the hearts of billions. The galaxy had heard the Council's voice. Now it was Earth's turn to respond, not with noise but with action, and the stars would never forget it. Earth had faced humiliation on the grandest stage in the galaxy, but it was far from broken. The words spoken by the Galactic Council, stung deeply, but instead of crushing human spirit, they forged an unbreakable unity among the people of Earth. For the first time in history, nations that once competed now stood side by side as the United Earth Coalition. They declared a single goal to prove humanity's true worth to the stars. At the heart of this effort was Project Resolute, a bold and daring campaign that combined diplomacy, science, and defense. Scientists worked tirelessly in secret labs, unveiling breakthroughs that astonished even the most advanced civilizations, watching from afar. The most striking of these was the gravity-based propulsion system, a new technology that allowed ships to move faster than light without the usual dangers of warp travel. When the first Earth ship equipped with this engine blasted into deep space, sensors from neighboring star systems detected the sudden shift. It was not just speed, it was a leap forward, and the galaxy could not ignore it. Meanwhile, on the diplomatic front, Earth did not wait for invitations or permission. Embassies were quickly established on border worlds battered by years of neglect and conflict. Earth's medical teams set up hospitals where war and famine had claimed countless lives. These acts of aid were broadcast widely, painting Earth not as a threatening newcomer but as a beacon of hope. Refugees from those torn worlds began journeying toward Earth systems, seeking shelter and a chance for a new life. They called Earth the People's Power, a name that spread across the stars and struck fear into some corners of the Council. The unity and progress seen on Earth were impossible to dismiss. Amid all this, humanity refused to apologize for the incident with the Council. Instead, their response was simple and firm. We respond in deeds, not words. This phrase became a rallying cry, echoing through news broadcasts, starship intercoms, and even the quiet halls of distant space stations. It reminded the galaxy that humanity's strength was in their actions, not empty promises or apologies. Leaders of other species who had once doubted Earth began to reconsider. What kind of civilization could rise so quickly, build such technology, and extend such kindness in the face of scorn? Suspicion mixed with admiration, and soon whispers of respect began to replace the mocking laughter. Behind the scenes, Project Resolute's military division prepared for all possibilities. Earth was no longer defenseless. Ships armed with new weapon systems and powered by gravity engines patrolled the borders. Their design was unlike anything seen before, sleek, agile, and built for precision. Commanders trained crews not only to fight but to protect civilians and minimize collateral damage. The message was clear. Earth was ready to defend itself, but also to lead with honor. As news of these developments reached the Council, tension grew. Some Council members warned against underestimating Earth, while others plotted to suppress this rising power. Back on Earth, ordinary citizens watched these events unfold with a mixture of pride and determination. They understood that the insult was only the beginning. The real challenge was to prove that humanity could not only survive but thrive, changing the galaxy for the better. The United Earth Coalition invested heavily in education, technology, and cultural exchanges, preparing their people for the next steps in humanity's journey. Across the stars, the galaxy began to shift. Old alliances wavered, new friendships formed, and the balance of power started to tilt. The insult that was meant to break Earth had instead awakened a force that no one could ignore. And from the silence that followed, a new voice rose. Clear, steady, and filled with the promise of a future where humanity would no longer be mocked, but respected. The echoes of wrath were not just anger. They were the sound of a world ready to claim its place among the stars. The galaxy waited, watching Earth closely. What would come next? Only time would tell, but one thing was certain. Earth had begun to change everything. Tensions had been rising steadily since Earth's bold steps into the galactic arena. The Galactic Council, uneasy with humanity's growing influence and popularity, decided to strike back, not with open war, but with a trade blockade designed to isolate Earth and limit its access to vital resources. The blockade was a warning wrapped in silence, meant to pressure Earth into submission without provoking a full-scale conflict. But Earth had no plans to bow quietly. In response, Earth organized humanitarian convoys to deliver essential supplies to distant border worlds suffering under the Council's neglect. These missions were symbols of hope and defiance. The most daring of these routes crossed Varelian Pass, a narrow stretch of space notorious for pirate attacks and dangerous currents of space debris. It was here that fate would test humanity's resolve and skill. One convoy carrying medical supplies and food came under sudden attack by a fleet of pirates armed with weapons and technology far beyond what such raiders should have. Their ships moved with unusual precision, their shields stronger than normal, their weapons more advanced. Suspicion grew that the pirates were being supplied or even controlled by someone within the Council. As the convoy sent a distress signal, Earth's fleet scrambled in response. Admiral Rhys Malloran, a veteran commander known for his calm mind and sharp strategy, led the rescue mission. The fleet arrived swiftly, positioning themselves between the pirates and the vulnerable convoy. What followed was a battle unlike any other. The engagement at Varelion Pass was broadcast live by a neutral galactic station, and millions tuned in across various star systems. What viewers saw was not the chaos and destruction typical of space battles. Instead, Earth's forces displayed remarkable precision and control. Using their new gravity-based propulsion, Earth's ships maneuvered effortlessly, surrounding the enemy without panic or haste. They targeted pirate ships one by one, disabling engines and weapons without destroying the vessels or harming the crews unnecessarily. It was a surgical strike, a display of discipline and restraint that stunned onlookers. Not a single Earth ship was lost, and casualties on the pirate side were minimal, as Earth's forces focused on incapacitation rather than annihilation. The message was clear. Earth was a protector, not a conqueror. In the days that followed, investigations uncovered shocking evidence. One of the Council's own members, the cold and calculating Drexilian ambassador, had been secretly arming the pirate fleets with advanced weapons and technology. This betrayal shook the Council to its core. It became clear that some factions within the Council feared Earth's rise and sought to undermine it through covert attacks and manipulation. The revelation further fueled support for Earth among neutral systems. Worlds that had once hesitated now openly expressed solidarity with humanity, seeing Earth as a defender of peace and justice rather than a threat. The Council's attempts to isolate Earth had backfired spectacularly. Instead of weakening humanity, the blockade and the attack had united more voices against corruption and fear. Across the galaxy, diplomats and leaders began calling for transparency and reform. Meanwhile, Earth maintained its focus on rebuilding and extending aid. They continued to send medical teams, engineers, and diplomats to troubled regions, earning goodwill and respect. Despite the provocations, humanity's leaders issued a firm but simple statement to the galaxy: "We seek peace, but we are not prey." This line echoed through broadcasts, becoming a powerful declaration of Earth's position. They desired harmony but would not tolerate attacks or intimidation. Admiral Malloran, in his quiet moments aboard his flagship, reflected on what had happened at Varelion Pass. The battle was not just a fight for survival, it was a test of humanity's values and strength. By choosing to act with honor and control, Earth had shown the galaxy a new way to wield power, one that combined strength with compassion. His fleet's victory was not measured in destruction, but in the respect earned from allies and even some former skeptics. The skirmish marked a turning point. The age of Earth's quiet rise had ended. Now, Earth was a force that could not be ignored, a rising power demanding both recognition and fairness. As the stars shifted and new alliances formed, the question remained: how far would the Council go to stop a world united by wrath and hope? Earth's answer was ready, not in angry words but in steady actions that spoke louder than any insult. Varelion Pass was just the beginning. The galaxy watched, waiting to see what came next. But one thing was certain: humanity had announced itself not just as survivors but as leaders, and the universe would never forget the precision, restraint, and fierce spirit that had made them so. The once unshakable Galactic Council began to crack, its foundation weakened by the unstoppable rise of humanity and the truth that could no longer be hidden. Whispers spread like wildfire across the member worlds. Rumors of corruption, manipulation, and centuries of deliberate suppression of younger civilizations like Earth. These leaks, exposed by a courageous whistleblower within the Council itself, revealed how the ancient powers had maintained control not through justice or wisdom, but through fear and deception. Documents showed secret alliances, illegal weapon trades, and harsh interventions designed to keep emerging species in their place. This revelation sent shockwaves through countless worlds, igniting protests and demands for change. Crowds gathered. In cities under alien suns, their banners raised high with a simple, powerful cry, "Let Earth lead." It was a call for reform, for a new era where fairness, respect, and progress would replace secrecy and tyranny. The movement grew rapidly, crossing species and star systems, stirring hope among those who had long felt ignored and oppressed. Amid this rising tide, Ambassador Alara Voss became more than a diplomat. She was a symbol of renewal and courage. With the galaxy watching, she returned to the Galactic Council chamber, the very place where humanity had first been insulted. But this time, she carried not anger or revenge, but a vision for a future where every civilization could stand as equals. The council chamber, filled with ancient beings who once dismissed her people, now hummed with tension and anticipation. Ilara's voice rang out, steady and passionate, as she addressed the assembly. She spoke of unity without dominance, strength, paired with compassion, and the need for a council that served all worlds fairly, not just the powerful few. Her words stirred the delegates, some resisting, others inspired. She reminded them that the universe was vast and full of life, and that progress depended on embracing change, not fearing it. The debate that followed was fierce. Some council elders clung to old power, warning that Earth's influence would upset the balance and bring chaos. But many younger delegates and newly awakened systems argued for reform. They saw in humanity a chance to build something better. The council was forced to confront its own flaws, its past misdeeds laid bare, before the stars. Finally, a vote was called, the chamber silent as every member species cast their decision. The outcome was a turning point in galactic history. Earth was granted full membership, not as a token gesture but as a respected equal, invited to shape the future alongside the oldest powers. The decision was met with cheers and protests alike, signaling that change would not be easy, but it was inevitable. As the session ended, Alara stood tall, knowing this victory was just the beginning. The fractures within the council had become cracks wide enough to let light in, but the work of healing and rebuilding remained. Outside the chamber, the galaxy buzzed with newfound energy. Systems once silent now raised their voices, demanding justice and fairness. Earth's inclusion was a symbol, a promise that no civilization would be left behind. The path forward was uncertain, but hope burned brighter than ever. The story of humanity had become a story of all those seeking a better future, a future where the council was not an unchallengeable force but a true community of equals. And at the center of that story stood Alara Voss, the ambassador who had turned insult into inspiration and dared to dream of a united galaxy. Humanity's journey from insult to acceptance reached its peak on the gray, dusty surface of Luna, Earth's moon, where the reformed Galactic Council gathered to swear in a new era of cooperation and equality. For centuries, the Council had been a symbol of old power, often closed and rigid, but now it transformed into something unrecognizable, an alliance of equals committed to progress and justice for all species. Humanity, once dismissed as insignificant and violent, had become the catalyst for this change. The wrath the galaxy had feared was not rage born from hate or vengeance, but a righteous strength shaped by compassion and wisdom. On Luna, beneath the pale light of Earth's blue planet hanging in the sky, leaders from countless worlds pledged to work together for the benefit of all. Ambassador Alara Voss stood at the center of this historic moment, her calm eyes reflecting the hope and responsibility of what lay ahead. Named High Envoy, she would guide the Council with the same vision and integrity that had carried humanity through its darkest challenges. Alongside her, Admiral Rhys Malloran took command of the new peacekeeping fleet. a force unlike any before it, composed of ships and crews from many species, united by a shared mission to protect the weak and prevent conflict. This fleet patrolled border systems where old tensions had simmered, responding swiftly and fairly to threats while offering aid to those caught in the crossfire. The alliance built on Earth's example inspired former enemies to become allies, proving that trust and cooperation could grow even from the deepest divisions. Systems once isolated by fear and suspicion now shared knowledge, resources, and culture, building bridges where walls had stood. The Interstellar Accord, the new framework established by the Council, guaranteed fair representation and equal rights to every member species. It balanced tradition with innovation, making space for younger civilizations to have a voice alongside the ancient powers. Earth's influence was clear but never overbearing, a reminder that leadership was about lifting others, not dominating them. The galaxy was changing, shaped by the lessons learned through struggle and unity. As this new chapter unfolded, Earth's ships continued their journey across the stars, not as conquerors, but as healers and explorers. They brought medicine to forgotten worlds, rebuilt shattered cities, and shared technologies that improved lives. Images broadcast back to Earth showed children of many species playing under foreign suns, soldiers laying down weapons to work, side by side, and scientists collaborating on discoveries that pushed the boundaries of knowledge. Each mission was a thread in the fabric of peace and progress, being woven across the galaxy. Ilara, standing once more on Luna's surface at the conclusion of the Council's first session, addressed the assembled delegates and countless viewers watching across star systems. Her voice was steady, carrying the weight of history but shining with hope. "They underestimated humanity," she said. "But now, together, we reach for the stars." The words echoed far beyond the moons, barren plains into the hearts of billions. This was not just the story of a single species rising against the odds. It was the story of a universe learning to embrace change, to find strength in diversity, and to dream of a future where no world was left behind. The wrath that had once been feared was reforged into leadership, a leadership guided by justice, tempered with compassion, and fueled by an unbreakable will to build a better tomorrow. Humanity had not only earned its place among the stars, but had helped create a galaxy where all could belong. And as Earth's ships sailed into the endless night carrying hope and unity, one truth became clear. The journey had only just begun.